the mini conference, it's going to be kind of fun, guys. I think we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to divide it into two sections. One, I'm going to look back at the past a little bit. So Kiva talked about smart cities and IoT and kind of the future, maybe some new things that the Alliance can start looking at and grow into, and I'm really excited about that because we've nailed the consumer space, we focused on it. I think the opportunity is much bigger. When you hear IoT, the T stands for things. Things aren't limited to things in our homes. It's enterprise, it's industry, it's healthcare, it's a lot of other things. So I think we as a team have an opportunity and a challenge to take what we've done so far and grow it. So that's the future, and it's exciting, and I'm glad to see that we're starting to think about those things. I do want to talk a little bit about the past, though, and I mean the near past, 2015, and some of our key achievements for the year. So that'll be the first part of the mini session. And then the second part of the mini session, we're going to have 5 or 6 different speakers come up and share for about 5 or 6 minutes each. So we've got 7 speakers in 40 minutes. We'll see how we do. But they're going to talk, just briefly introduce you to some of the common themes, things that we're going to dig into deeper in the sessions, both the business and the technical. So they'll each kind of come up, give you a little bit of a view from their perspective as a member and what they're doing. And then that'll be things that you can go dig in deeper in the sessions and ask them questions on. So we'll see how this works. It's a little bit new for me, the mini session, but top 10 for 2015. The year's gone fast. It was a year ago that we were at the first conference. It was a great thing. It seems like it's been a long year, right? Many of us here have been working together really hard, had our heads down. You kind of miss the forest, for the trees sometime when you're working. It's been an extremely successful year for the Alliance, and that's really due to the membership and what we've done. So I just want to go over the top 10 achievements, if you will, or accomplishments that together we've achieved, and talk a little bit about each of them. So the first one, and this is in chronological reverse order, so starting from earlier in the year, was the release of Gateway Agent. That was really exciting. That was CES 2015, so we're talking January, February. Gateway Agent was important in the evolution of AllSeen and AllJoyn as a technology because it really bridged the gap between, the cute little video of the TV and the light talking proximally to talking to the cloud, but doing it in a managed way. And that was really important. The cloud is a big part of what IoT is going to be. Devices proximally is a big important. And being able to bridge and manage that in a secure way is a critical piece of the puzzle. In fact, there was, I'm going to credit it to ZDNet because the article was on ZDNet, and I believe it was one of their writers. But at CES, he wrote an article on the announcement, and he put a sentence in there that I really loved, and of course I thought he was brilliant for recognizing it. But basically, he said that the announcement from AllSeen Alliance of the Gateway may be the most important or significant announcement at CES. It gets lost in the blitz of all of the TVs and the things that we as consumers like to look at and see. But if you can't manage the networks and the devices on the networks and the interaction between them, IoT won't be realized. So as a building block and a fundamental piece for IoT, Gateway was really big for us. The next thing was 1504, right? That was our release. We're an open source project. We're about code, right? We need to release code. We need to evolve the code. We need to add features and functionality to the code. We need to move it forward. That's what we're here and what we're all about. So 1504 was our April release of code. That's what many of us consider to be really a stable foundation to build first commercial products on. A lot of features, functionality, a lot of stability enhancements, a lot of improvements and things we learned from previous releases. And 1504 is now the foundation for some of the products that are launching now. We'll be launching into the end of this year and into early next year. So that was a big move from code that was fairly mature but maybe less stable to really a commercial quality release. And we've been building on that since. So 1504 was big. Events. Philip mentioned this. This was an opportunity for us as members of Alliance to go out together and start sharing our story. And we did it at CES and MWC and IoT World Forum and at IFA. And we had a booth and we started talking about AllSeen. We started talking about the brand. We started showing products that would be launching or had just launched from different members interoperating together. And that's a really key part of what the Alliance is about, is interoperability and all of these various devices working together. So events were really big for us this year. I look forward to 2016 and doing even more. The event team is putting the plan together, and this is really a way for us to get our message out. And it's becoming more and more important. We're still an open source project, but we have to start building awareness with consumers and within the industry and the things that we're doing. So events are a great way for us to do that, and 2015 was a good year. Partnerships, right? We're an ecosystem. We've got a good membership. We had a couple of I think, what are really critical partnerships throughout this year, and there's a few more in work. in Ocean, the ULE Alliance. This, to me, really signifies that other people see and value what we're doing as well. It's not just us coming together and talking. They're starting to see an ecosystem build, and they want to be part of and work with that ecosystem, and that's a really good thing. And we have more standards groups and more industry alliances who are approaching us on a regular basis and want to talk and work with and figure out how we can do things together. So it's been successful. It's going to be more exciting and interesting moving forward. HAE, Home Appliance and Entertainment. This is a service framework. And in AllJoyn, we kind of have the core technology that manages the networking and communication, and then you build interfaces or experiences on top with service frameworks. I love this one because one of the questions I get, I get asked, I get to do press interviews a lot. I get to speak at conferences. I get to talk about IoT and connectivity. One question that I often get is, do you really think companies who compete on a daily basis out in the market are going to come together and do anything meaningful with their competitors, right? It seems a little bit odd. And this is a perfect example, and I love to talk about HAE because we have some of the largest global appliance manufacturers who are members of the Alliance. We've got 7 or 8 companies who fly their engineers and their people around the world. They've had several meetings. They sit down in a room with people they go and compete in the market with every day to sell products, and they're defining the interfaces and writing the codes that will become the standard interface from the Alliance for appliances and in the home and entertainment. That's pretty impressive. But not only do they go do that work, they're then taking it and building it into products. And to me, that's the value of open source. That's the vision that we had, and the way that we think things really have to evolve if we really want IoT to be realized. Because there is no single company, there is no single brand, there is no single product that we use. It's made up of devices from everyone. So this is a great example, and I love to talk about it. And when you do, it kind of clicks, and people say, okay, I get it. Now the manufacturers go out and they build on top of it, and they differentiate on top of it, but they leverage that source code, that open development, and that's really powerful. 1509 release, that just happened, and a lot went into 1509, a lot of improvements, a lot of new features. The big one that we're talking a lot about is Security 2.0. In 1509, it was what we're calling a developer preview. So we're not saying it's fully hardened and commercialized yet. We want to get it into the market. We want to let people use it and come provide feedback. The plan is to really go commercial with it, full commercial, in 1604. But Security 2.0 is important. Everybody is talking about privacy and security in IoT, right? The more things are connected, the more data that's being shared, whether it's personal, whether it's enterprise, proprietary information, the fear of that not being secure and locked down is pretty high. So Gateway 2.0, Security 2.0, is really about not only encrypting data end-to-end, but how do you manage security, right? How do you manage it in a way that it's usable? So that's a huge one. Contributions, we're an open source project. We live on contributions. Device System Bridge, I love that one. I talked a little bit about smart cities. That was a contribution from Microsoft. They put a couple of other protocols out there, BACnet being one of them. That's starting to take AllJoyn from being this kind of consumer home thing, expanding it now, building automation and control. And we're only going to build out from there. We have XMPP and MQTT. MQTT will help us scale to some of the industrial size challenges that Kiva talked to. So the body and the membership is starting to take the code base and evolve it beyond where we are and look at expanding into these other markets. And to me, that's exciting and a great opportunity. Growth, we're at almost 200 companies now. So we've had consistent growth over the last year. Every month or so, there's an announcement from the Alliance. There's new members coming. It's a very diverse set of companies that are part of the ecosystem. We have large companies, we have very small companies, startups in between, and across a wide variety of technologies and segments. So we have a very rich membership, and growth is exciting and continues, and I look forward to that. You saw, I think earlier behind Philip, the new website and the logo. So, most of you guys in here, or a lot of you folks in here are techies, and so maybe we don't always pay as much attention to the look and feel, but as we start to now launch products and we start to build awareness around AllSeen and AllJoyn certified, it's really important that we start to think about the consumers and the users of the technology. And I think the new website and the logo are a big part of that, and it was a ton of effort. And it's a fundamental shift from just developing technology to really delivering a platform and a product that people can actually use. And then the final is the launch of the certification program. So as a consumer, I'm really happy to be able to talk. We have 3 products. Our first 3 AllJoyn certified products. One is a TV from LG. One is a Surface from Microsoft, and then Windows 10 I can't show you because it's bits floating all over the place. But those are our first 3 products. And so, guys, yeah, right? This is huge, right? So, huge, huge step here. A lot of work went into this, but 2015 was a great year for us. A lot of milestones. We got a lot of work ahead. We're going to talk about some of those things, but we should be proud of this because this only happened because we did it together. I mean, it is an open source project. Without us doing the work and the contributions, nothing moves forward. So again, congratulations to everybody here. Great job. I want to segue into the second half of the micro session now. And we talk about certification and we talk about devices. So we're kind of at the wave here now of what we're saying, here come the products. People have been asking me this for a while. Okay, so the Alliance, where are the products? First, let me say, guys, we're barely 2 years old. Okay, that's not really that old. In technology time, it seems like it, but when you're building physical products, we know there's product life cycles. And if a company only joined a year ago, it takes time to get in, get the code, get familiar, build it into products, and bring those products to market. So we're only 2 years old, great growth. We're starting to see more and more products. We have products in the market, right, by no doubt. There's products from LG, Inopia Tech, Microsoft, obviously, LG U+, Monster, Tubules. There's a ton of products out there already. It's in the infancy. So, but that's starting to happen now in this certification program. Something that people can start to understand means this will all work together is critical. So here come the products. I want to invite Subom Lee up. Subom is from LG, and he's going to talk and share just a little bit more about, one, what LG's doing, some of the things that they've announced at IFA, and hopefully tell me when I can actually buy some of these products in the market. So, Subom.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Matt. I'm Subom Lee from LG Electronics. I'm going to talk about 3 things about AllSeen Alliance from the manufacturer's point of view. The first thing is about open source benefits to manufacturers. So there are many kinds of different products that LG is manufacturing, and there are many different business units, and those different units have different business units have different product life cycle and development schedule and so on. Before IoT world, we don't have to. Those business units don't have to use the same code base, same software for their products. For example, TV doesn't have to use the software for refrigerator. So, but in IoT world, those different products need to use the same code base, same software to communicate with each other. In that case, without the open source, if we don't have any AllJoyn open source project, we cannot build this kind of, we cannot use build products, different products that can communicate with each other. That meets this product development schedule. So that is the biggest benefit. The open source project is the biggest benefit for manufacturers like LG. And second thing I want to talk about is there are many IoT ecosystems that is trying to led by other companies like chipset manufacturers, chipset providers, service providers, even the platform providers. They are trying to their own ecosystem, but frankly speaking, those ecosystems, those other consortium, the manufacturers are not that active, or manufacturers cannot shape those ecosystems that much. But but different from those consortium or ecosystem, AllSeen Alliance, in AllSeen Alliance, there are many active, proactive manufacturers like Electrolux, Haier, Panasonic, Sharp, Sony, Arçelik, some manufacturers like that. So we can shape our ecosystem from manufacturer's point of view. So for example, the best example is home appliance and entertainment service framework project that Matt introduced before. So we are very proud of that. So that is the first, and that is the real or the interface, the AllJoyn interface that manufacturers will use on their products in the near future. And lastly, I want to talk about the AllJoyn products. It's related with the IoT ecosystem that the manufacturers are participating in. So actually, we are at IFA 2015, we announced that AllJoyn enabled TV, AllJoyn enabled air conditioner, and AllJoyn enabled oven. So now we get certified with our products, the AllJoyn TV and Wi-Fi module for our air conditioner get certified by AllJoyn certified program, and we're going to have more and more products to get certified from now on. So with this AllJoyn certified program and AllJoyn enabled products, we don't have to worry about the interoperability and conformance with other appliances, other devices from other manufacturers. That is the strengths of AllJoyn ecosystem and AllJoyn certified program. Okay, that is all that I want to talk about from the manufacturer's point of view. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Subom. Not to put you on the spot. When can I buy these? Can you the TVs and the air conditioners and the other products?
The AllJoyn certified TV will be ready. Will be available in the market early spring, and probably we are going to launch the AllJoyn enabled home appliances from early 2016.
Great. Thanks, Subom.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Good job. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is the emergence of the user. So we don't build technology for the sake of building technology. We actually have to build something that, one, people can, to some degree use and understand. Certainly, though, they have to be able to use it, and it has to solve real-world problems, right? If we're just doing this to try and solve difficult engineering or technology problems, but we're not doing it in a way that it's useful to the end user, then we failed. And by end user, there's certainly the consumer aspect of it, where you think in many of these IoT networks and devices, they don't have managed IT professionals at home. If maybe a spouse or a significant other is there, but for most homes, they don't have that. So it's really a very challenging market to address and to deliver technology that's useful. So we've had more and more interest as we've gotten further along and the technology has matured. We have more and more retailers who are joining the alliance and becoming part of it, because they want to be able to provide solutions to their customers who have questions and have technology problems that need to be solved. And so it's exciting to see that happen. And for this portion of the mini session, I want to invite up Rob Fenwick from Howdens, and he's going to talk a little bit about how they see consumers' needs in the markets evolving, and how AllJoyn as a technology in the AllSeen Alliance as an ecosystem of partners can help address those challenges.
Hi. Yeah, good morning, everybody. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from the UK, so my thanks on behalf of the UK to the AllSeen for the opportunity to come along this morning and talk a little bit about how we see the end user requirements. For those that don't know, the business I work for, it's a company called Howdens, listed on the UK Stock Exchange, been going 20 years, very successful, 25-30% market share in kitchens in the UK. So we're in 1 in 3 UK kitchens. The way we go to market is B2B, so you'll hear a lot more this afternoon about what the B2B channel is about. But we have over 600 depots in the UK. We've got 1/3 customers who regularly trade with us, and we're turning over $1.7 billion US. We do it very well. Our gross margin is 64%, and our operating profit is 17%, but that's the end of the business speak. The inspiration for the business 20 years ago was kitchens at the center of our lives. So most of you will have a kitchen at home, and in the UK, it's the real heart of the home. Everything from the obvious, like cooking and socializing, to where the bills are discussed and paid, to where the kids do their homework, If you've got pets, normally the table ends up being the operating theatre for the dog, all that sort of stuff. Now, what's really interesting about kitchens being the centre of our lives is, if you go to the next slide, please. Howden's is about solving real problems for real people. And there's 3 case studies which we'll be talking again in great detail about this afternoon. But the old lady up there is called Thelma, and Thelma's in her late 80s, and she's really worried about living by herself, about staying in touch with her loved ones, and about having accidents in a home. And despite the technology which exists today, there is no integrated solution for the kitchen with connectivity in the home in the UK today. So there might be the concept of the smart home, but there isn't the better life or the better home available to people like Thelma today. And unfortunately, when we did the case study on Thelma a couple of years ago, she's now been taken into a home because society hasn't equipped Thelma and Thelma's family with the connectivity, the transparency to help her solve her real problems. The next middle block there is a family, and the mum's called Anna, and Anna's children are very young, as you can see. But Anna, if anybody's got 3, 4 young kids, will know, lives a very chaotic life. You know, and the reliability of some of the appliances in her home, the energy usage of things in her home, the number of accidents or danger signs which exist in her home for her young children are large. And then on the end, you've got another user group, Tara and Dave. Tara and Dave's needs are completely different, in part, to Thelma's and Anna's. They're at work all day, so they're worried about security. And in the UK, 46% of burglaries take place during the day. They're worried, Tara and Dave are worried about the flood, not to the same scale as the example Kiva shared earlier. And so what we're looking for, and I think we're no different to most B2B businesses in the UK, we're looking to take forward the solution. But we can't do it by ourselves. We're a route to market. We're a route to market, and we need partners, we need suppliers who can help us make this happen. Move it from being a smart home concept to a better life reality. And we'll talk on that this afternoon, and some of the brand and trust attributes which we believe you need to make this happen. That's it from me. Thank you very much.
I know a lot of you out there, and I know a lot of you know me personally. There are a lot of new faces, though. So if you've heard this before, ignore me, and if you haven't. I'm going through a whole home renovation, and I can definitely say the kitchen is probably, the design of the kitchen and what goes into the kitchen, I've spent more time on than anything. To the point where I'm tired of it, by the way, but it really is kind of the heart of the home for me as well. I'm going to throw this out there because I say this with some regret. I'm actually making all of my decisions, and I can't go buy AllJoyn enabled stuff to bring into my home in most cases. I wish I could. We're not there. So kind of a challenge to the community is let's build products that even if it's not ready today, we can go back and update them and upgrade them and AllJoyn enable them in the future, because for no other reason, I would kind of like that too. So. But the kitchen is definitely an important part of the home. And again, we need to focus on experiences for users. We need to solve real world problems. We need to use technology in a way that actually meets people's needs. And I'm encouraged in talking to you guys that we're doing a lot of that. And I think that's on everyone's mind. The next topic that we're gonna discuss is AllJoyn is an ecosystem. And I think we know this, and we use the word ecosystem a lot, and we all kind of talk about it. I'll be honest, my view is that for the last 2 years, the team has been really heads down and focused on really solving some of the core technical challenges and problems that existed if we really want things to communicate, if we really want to create this kind of lingua franca, if you will, across all of the segments. And there's really core communication and networking issues, and we've done a lot of work there. We're bringing products to market. We need to see the ecosystem grow further. You know, we're 200 members roughly in the Alliance. We got, I think Philip put out earlier, something like 292 different contributors to the code base. We need to really grow the developer ecosystem as well. And I'm going to invite Noah Harlan up from Tubuls to talk about that. Noah, I'm extremely happy that we have Tubuls in the Alliance. His commitment from very early on in the work that they've done has been tremendous, and I think they really represent where a lot of the growth in the future is going to come as these devices go out, is how do we then bring services and applications on top of the devices that make them more useful. So Noah's going to be here and talk a little bit more about the developer and the ecosystem growing and what we can expect in the future. Thanks, Noah.
I too am in the middle of a kitchen renovation. I too am going through that same experience. I may have violated some NDAs in telling my general contractor what devices I wanted put in because I have some knowledge of things that are coming. So apologies to anyone where I said, don't put the oven in yet. I know of some better ovens that are coming. So I'm here to talk about the ecosystem. Tubuls is a software development firm. And we had a background in mobile, and we were lucky a number of years ago, Qualcomm called us up and said, hey, could you help us out? We have something that we're working on. It was this early technology. It was an early version of AllJoyn, and we want some help bringing it to life and showing what it can really do. And so we had a great experience working with their team, and what we've had the opportunity because of that is to see this ecosystem come into being and then to see it really flourish and grow. But what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a community that is bound together by a common language, and in our case it is quite literally a common language. AllJoyn is a framework. It's a way that devices, regardless of what country they're from, what their purpose is, they can speak and they can interact. And that's an incredibly powerful concept. And these type of ecosystems are what has powered all of the IT revolution and much of our modern society. If you look at the internet, it is built upon layer of these type of ecosystems, whether it's at a low level, TCP/IP, higher levels like HTML. They're all about languages talking together. And now as we proliferate onto all these devices for IoT, we have AllJoyn. AllJoyn is really what's happened now that we have a lot of devices that have come out is that the next phase needs to be the enablement of this ecosystem. And what we've seen over the last 6 to 12 months is a huge step forward in that. AllJoyn is open, as everyone here knows, but it is truly open. It is open source. It's always fascinating when we get an email from someone saying, how do I get access to understanding some of the code? And we say, well, it's easy. You download it. It's all there. You can change it. You can edit it. You can modify it. You can use it however you want. And that transparency and openness makes for a very powerful ecosystem. It means that security risks are diminished when transparency is increased. We're not dependent on single points of failure. And everybody from small companies, Tubuls is a relatively small company, we're 50 people spread across 3 countries, to the largest companies in the world can all participate in advancing the technology so the best ideas surface and win. Great tools are essential for this, and AllJoyn and the AllSeen Alliance have put out some really tremendous tools that are really helping people to develop. We saw AllJoyn.js come out this year, just a month or 2 ago, which opens up the programming of AllJoyn to a much broader base of people, a much broader set of developers, and I think now that we have physical devices coming into the marketplace, we're now going to see the developers that come in on top of that ecosystem. And as we've learned over the past 7 or 8 years, it's when that developer ecosystem starts to take off, when there's enough of a base level of devices that you can see the innovation really, really soaring. And that's where Tubuls also steps in. We've also seen other people participate and provide tools. Microsoft this year, not only did they put AllJoyn into what's now 100 million or so devices across a lot of different platforms, but they also created great developer tools. They put the AllJoyn tooling into Visual Studio, and it allows even the most introductory of developers to quickly get started, to start building little applications that can connect to their devices, and to begin to connect their devices to other people's devices. Two Bowls, my company, we've also open source software. You can get it. It's TB Start AllJoyn. It's available totally free, open source, and you can download that. That'll give you your about interfaces, your events, and your actions, and make sure that they're all properly implemented. So feel free to come visit us for that. And an ecosystem creates value. So it's all of these people working together, but it's not just working together for navel-gazing purposes, but it's really to add value. When you think about the kitchen, it's rare, except in ground-up, blue sky, greenfield construction, that you have everything from one manufacturer. You update these devices over long periods of time, and that hodgepodgey nature of people's homes and workplaces means that as more and more companies come into the ecosystem, it gets stronger and stronger because more and more of those devices can add value. And certification, which has been launched now, is an essential piece of that. It brings value, and it brings value in a few different ways. It brings value as a creator, whether you're an OEM or a software developer, because you have an understanding of whether your device will actually work with others. There's a commonality to it. There's an official certification that says this device has been tested and will work. There's a legal piece to it, which is along with that certification comes a really powerful set of IP protections that give us a lot of freedom, and it means that the biggest companies in the alliance, which are the biggest companies in the world, can help the smallest companies to develop and have confidence in what they're developing, which is a huge thing in this area. And finally, it helps consumers. People understand that when they buy something that says USB, it will work with a USB port. People understand that when they get a web browser and it works with the World Wide Web and HTML, it will work with the World Wide Web and HTML. The problem now is when you buy devices, it's balkanized and it's difficult, but increasingly as people see the AllJoyn certified logo on devices, they'll know that this device can work with their other devices, and that's going to raise the value of everyone's products, software, hardware, and the services that run on top. With that, I'll hand it back to Matt.
Thanks, Noah. And actually, Noah, that was a perfect setup and a segue for our next section, which we're calling AllJoyn Hits the Market. And I'm not going to really say much because I think Noah did a beautiful job talking about certification. I'm going to invite Joey Tang up from Euronics, and he's going to share a little bit about what the significance of a certification mark is in a certification program as a promise to consumers, what that means to them as retailers, and how they can start taking that and using it as a means to educate retailers and consumers as they come into the retail environment. So, Joey?
For having me here. I'm really excited to be here. It's the first time that I speak in front of the AllSeen community. So here's what it's about in retail. So my name is Joey Tang. I'm the business unit manager for added value concept, which is a fancy word for new business within our organization. And my top priority is actually to develop the smart home category within our organization. Euronics, maybe some of you have already heard about our organization, is the largest retail group in Europe. We cover about 35 countries across EMEA, including the Dubai area, Middle East, but also like Kazakhstan, Russia, Ukraine. We have about, well, actually more than 10,000 shop outlets spread across this geographic region. And we have a turnover of 18.2 billion euro. It's about 20.5 billion US dollars. We focus on smart home or Internet of Things because of the opportunities we see. And in the beginning of the session was already mentioned, all those figures, all those numbers that go over the billions. It's coming, but not yet. But we really see the traditional consumer goods categories market stabilizing, in some cases even declining. For instance, TVs, we saw a double-digit decline in the first half of the year. But luckily, let's say in white goods, we see a slight increase. And also talking about the kitchen as the center of your life, I think it's really important. So we're looking for alternative sources of turnover. However, it's still clear that smart home and Internet of Things is in its infancy stage, and much work remains to be done in terms of educating the consumer, informing consumers. There was a survey done by GfK. That's a fairly interesting consumer research company, done in the beginning of the year, that actually said 72% of all the consumers they interviewed, they had no clue what smart home or IoT was all about. But the good thing is when they've got explained what the user benefits were, or how it could enrich their lives, suddenly 98% was interested and showed willingness to buy. So there we have a very huge role as a retailer to educate the consumers. But also the number of products and solutions that are already out the market, that is quite limited. We see mainly products in the segment of smart home, let's say safety and security, like the type of cameras or smart switches. That's not really an ecosystem, as you can call it, or a type of smart thermostats or weather stations, those sort of things. I'm talking about real interoperability between devices at your home. There was another study done by Context earlier, actually in September, that actually showed somewhat better figures, not the 72 mark percentage of people who didn't know, but they showed about 60%, so there was an increase, so improvement. But they were also asked the question, okay, do you know these platforms? Do you know Wemo? Do you know HomeKit? Do you know Nest? Do you know AllSeen? And shockingly, these numbers were very, very low. As opposed to, for instance, how do you know Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, which was actually amongst the 60s, 70s percentage that people knew. So we have a lot of ground to cover with AllSeen AllJoyn, but I'm confident that it will happen. So I'm absolutely excited to see the growing number of companies joining AllSeen AllJoyn, more than 200, or actually around 200 mark, and growing every day. And now that we have the technological certification process and all that infrastructural processes done, I think we have to focus on the question how to market, how to go to market. And what are the things that we need to take into consideration from a retailer's perspective? I think number one is interoperability. We already talked about it. And a logo on the product packaging, on the product, that actually shows that product A works with product B. One app to control at least the basics features between those different devices. And maybe you have your own app per product that goes into more features, but at least one app that rules them all. Security has to be at the right level. I think Matt already talked about it. But there we also, as a retailer, have a role to advise the consumers. We have to educate those consumers, say, okay, you have to set your security settings, and you have to shield off, and et cetera, et cetera. And we can help you with that. The last thing is support in store with demo units, with training, and bringing the experience to the consumer in our stores to show them what your products can do. And we cannot do it ourselves. We need your help. And here it comes. Interoperability requires manufacturers to look beyond their own product roadmaps and collaborate amongst each other. And you see many point solutions in the market, but you need to be aware that you are not, or that you're actually part of an ecosystem, which was already mentioned before. And this holistic thinking is what I would invite you to take with you over the coming days. Have a great summit.
Thanks. Okay, all right, thank you, man. All right. Next up, this one is obvious, wow, right? AllJoyn is an open source project, no big surprises there. You know, I mentioned Noah and Toobles and a lot of work that they've done, and I appreciate it. And by no means does that mean I don't appreciate the work that all of you are doing. But you know, Noah talked about large and small companies and everybody being equal, and Toobles has certainly done a lot. To talk a little bit more about what it means to be part of an open source project and what you can do and how to influence that, we're going to have John Cameron from LifeX come up. And I really appreciate LifeX as well, because you know, we've got some pretty large companies that are part of the AllSeen Alliance and members, but we have companies who are smaller companies with great ideas, creative thinkers, and they've actually come in very meaningful ways and impacted the code base and the development and the direction and helped us bring products to market more quickly. And I think to me that's the power of the open source, that one, they can do that, and then two, that we have members who are willing to do that. And so I'm going to invite John up. LifeX actually was driving much of the first higher level service framework, if you will, the lighting service framework that was released through the AllSeen Alliance. So John will share a little bit more about what it means to be part of open source and how to leverage that. Thanks.
Hey guys, thanks for having me here. It's fantastic to be here. And I'm going to talk a bit about what it's meant for us to be part of the Alliance, and both what we've contributed but also what we've got out of that open source relationship. So, and at the end I've got a little announcement to share. So we were one of the founding members of the Alliance. We were crowdfunded, and so open source is definitely in our roots, it's in our DNA. In 2013, when the Alliance started, we'd already built a really beautiful product. We have a Wi-Fi connected smart light that it totally changes the way people understand light and colour. People were talking about redecorating kitchens, and we found an amazing way to redecorate is just unscrew your old light bulb, put in a LifeX bulb, and your kitchen can be whatever beautiful colour or tone you feel like, and you can change it as much as you like. And we're seeing people really change the way they interact with light, and seeing it as more than just something you turn on and off. It's how people can stay connected to each other in new ways. So I've got something set up at home where I've got a lamp that shows the weather prediction for the next day from wherever I am. I live in Australia, so water's pretty scarce. It doesn't rain a lot, so it's usually orange and red. But now, while I'm over here in Seattle, my kids are very excited to see it blue for one of the first times. So it's amazing what new things that you can do with light. So we invested a lot to make these products as accessible to anybody as possible. Just plug it in. We made sure you didn't need an extra hub. You don't need to play around with any wires. It just needs your Wi-Fi network. And so when we did that, this was before the Alliance, we had to develop our own lighting protocol which works on Wi-Fi so that these lights can communicate with each other and with the internet. But we knew the real power of these lights was going to happen when these lights became part of IoT, when customers get surprised and delighted by new things that we didn't even think could be done. So examples of televisions that as the movie starts it can dim the lights, or a fridge or a washing machine that can blink your light to say you've left the door open, or your washing load has finished, or a security system that when you lock your door your house goes into security mode and your lights can simulate somebody being home or can turn on when there's an emergency rather than just one sensor light the entire house. So we wanted to be part of that, and so we contributed many of our learnings to the Alliance, and we helped found the lighting service framework. So this is the part of AllJoyn that specialises in lights, and it covers the things like creating a group of lights that you can control all at once, or creating a scene that you can enable with one one command from, say, a television that can set your whole living room to your TV watching scene, things like that. We shared that and we contributed that to the code base, and we were able to leverage some of the big members like Qualcomm, who put a huge amount of effort into expanding that out and building it into the lighting service framework that we have today. We've also then been able to access the shared value that is part of the other projects that other members have contributed to, that is constantly growing. We're looking forward to the benefits, for example, of Security 2.0. That's going to matter a lot to us now that, as mentioned earlier, the Gateway project connects AllSeen networks right out to the internet, so security is going to matter a lot to us. Luckily, security's come along and there's a fully certified process there that we can just jump onto. We're really excited by some of the work that Microsoft's done with these device system bridges, so suddenly we can reach out into totally new networks. We were mentioning before the Enocean Alliance, and yeah, with Microsoft's help we can access, for example, BACnet networks or Z-Wave networks, and suddenly much larger access to for our little light to receive info from and also send out messages to. And then a huge benefit for us has been the way that being part of an open source platform, as Noah mentioned, eases uptake for third-party developers. And Microsoft has done an amazing job for us on that by building AllJoyn Studio right into Visual Studio. You can have a LifeX light on your network and you're a developer, you fire up Visual Studio and it can straight away say, there's a light there and these are the things that you can do to control it. These are the commands that you can give it. These are the things that it sends out. It's really empowering, and we're very excited to see what being available on those 10 million Windows PCs does for us and for the Alliance in general. And on that note, we also, last week, we launched our Windows 10 app, which lets our lights be controlled and onboarded and set up on Windows 10. So we're very, very proud of that. And finally, talking of new devices, we made our first product launched it in 2013, and we've been very involved in the Alliance, and I'm very proud and excited today to announce that we are shipping our new full colour, the world's first AllJoyn enabled full colour smart light bulb. It's smaller, brighter. Thanks, go on. So this is smaller, brighter, more energy efficient, and connects to more devices than any other product we've made, or we think anybody else. And fantastically, it's out of the box AllJoyn enabled. So we can't wait to see what you guys will do controlling our lights and what we can receive and interact with your products. Thanks, everyone.
All right, and our last mini session for today is about AllSeen as a community. So we've talked about growth and 190 plus members. We anticipate and expect that we'll continue to grow, and we're seeing much more interest. To talk a little bit more about this is Danny Lausberg from Technicolor, one of the early members as well in the Alliance, and one of the big contributors. And I think they've done a lot of work to helping grow to the 190 members it is by going out there and really talking about what we do in our vision. So, Danny? Let me just say we're right kind of at our cap. Philip told me we've got 5 or 10 extra minutes. So, Danny, you've got 5 or 10 minutes, as much as you need, and then we'll just let you close it and let people take a short break before the next session.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So yeah, one of the figures that we saw at the beginning in the presentation that Matt was giving was the number of contributors to the AllJoyn open source project. 292 contributors, active developers. That is an incredibly impressive number. But, and this can't go completely wrong, but I want to do a very quick experiment here. I know that we have a lot of members here in the room. If anyone who works for a company that has made contributions in any form to the AllSeen Alliance could be proud about that and raise their hand right now, I'd be very grateful. So we have a number of people here. So that's a good amount, but as if some of you were looking around, as you can see, there's room for growth there, right? 292 is an incredibly impressive number, but we can still do better. There's a large amount of people who have an interest, at the very least, in Internet of Things and making the Internet of Things successful based on AllJoyn and the AllSeen community. And what I want to say to you guys here today is that although making contributions sounds like it is something that should be hard and complex, it isn't. It is something that everyone can be a part of, building that community together. So at Technicolor, when we first joined, we had a number of products that we wanted to see enabled and interoperate with products from other members in the community, right? But before we went to that, we started by making contributions to the open source project, making contributions to the way that the organization is run. We're quite proud of that. Now, we didn't do that just because we're really great guys, which we are, but we did that because we see it as an investment. It is something that is going to be beneficial to us, and we are seeing the benefits of that already today in the form of other members giving feedback on what we've contributed, picking up where we've left, building features on top of that, and so forth and so forth. So while a contribution might seem like it is something that creates costs for companies here, it is actually the thing that drives the value of the ecosystem for you as member companies. So I want to turn that into a challenge, because I want to see many more hands go up next time around when I ask the same question to the group. I want to see almost the entire room be loud and proud and proclaim that they've made contributions to the Alliance. And it's not just to the open source project itself, although providing code, documentation, testing, and things like that are very important things. If you're a product company and you're building products on this, you've created tools to integrate it in your devices, feel free to contribute those back. And that's going to create tremendous value for the other members as well. It's going to help accelerate the ecosystem. But even if you're not a product company, even if you're not a software development company or anyone who creates technical artifacts as part of their work, you can still make very, very valuable contributions to the ecosystem. One of the things that you can do is ask your partners whether they support AllJoyn already. You can create drive and enthusiasm for this community by talking to other people about what AllJoyn and AllSeen mean to you, what you're getting out of it. Try to get some of that enthusiasm that you have for the framework and make others enthusiastic about it as well. So, driving more membership, sharing even the way that devices are supposed to integrate without sharing source code is a possibility as well. We have this thing in AllJoyn called interfaces. Interfaces define how devices share data with each other. Even if you have a couple of devices that you work with, that you use, that have a data model that you think is good, tell us. Provide us with documentation on that. Submit that to the interface review board and create more devices that are out-of-the-box compatible with each other based on the AllJoyn framework. Marketing, put the logo on, get your devices certified, put the logo on all of your devices. Talk about it to your suppliers, talk about it to your customers. Tell them why you chose AllJoyn as the core of your communication framework for your products. All of these things will provide tremendous value for the ecosystem. And all of these things will make it so that when we are here next year, we can look at a room full of people all having their hands up in the air, raised, proclaiming that they have made a meaningful and valuable contribution to the AllJoyn framework. That's it. That's what I had to tell you today. Thank you very much.